Hello and welcome to another episode of The Mark Medley Show. And in today's podcast episode, the title is What We Habitually Do Impacts Our Worldly Destiny. And I came across this title in a book that I'm reading. It actually was a line from it. And the book is titled Burn Your Goals, The Countercultural Approach to Achieving Your Greatest Potential. And the authors are Joshua Medcalf and Jamie Gilbert. As I was reading the book, I came across that line, and immediately what came to me was conversations I have with students and young people just about every day. It's very few episodes of this podcast that I don't reference the fact that I work with youth as I work in the school system. And I am constantly encouraging and challenging our students to move away from habits that, even though they are 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years old, they are putting habits in place right now that will set in, that will be very costly for them if they take those habits into the adulthood, which, if the habits are not broken, they will. So I took a look at Merriam-Webster's dictionary to see what is the definition of habit. Number one, it said a settled tendency or usual manner of behavior. Number two definition is an acquired mode of behavior that has become nearly or completely involuntary. If you look at the C part of the definition, it says a behavior pattern acquired by frequent repetition or physiologic exposure that shows itself in regularity or increased facility of performance. In other words, it's something that you do so much you don't even realize you're doing it. It's almost by reflex. That's what a habit is. You do it so much you don't even realize you're doing it. And when I say I speak with young people every day, a lot of times I'm speaking in terms of a habit many of the children that I work with have, and that is defying authority. There is an infraction in our student code of conduct called defiance of authority. And in many cases, a child will blatantly defy authority. If you say go left, the child will go right. If you say go up, the child will go down. If you say stop, the child will start. If you say start, the child will stop. If you say be quiet, the child will talk. And if you say talk, the child will be quiet. It's that type of defiance that many of the children, not all, that I serve and come across on a daily basis have developed. And my fear, and this is what I constantly share with them, is that you're going to take those habits as you get older and older, and then you're going to be out in another setting where the consequences of those habits are going to be much more severe than in a school setting. So let's say, for example, now you've come across a police officer on the street. You're doing something you have no business doing, or at least the perception is you're doing something you have no business doing. And now the police officer gives a directive. You've now gotten so much in the habit of defying the authority that when the police officer says stop, you're going to keep running. And then you've now set up a situation for resisting arrest, or the scenario oftentimes that comes across the news as police brutality. In many instances, you will have a child who has now made it a habit to not listen. They find themselves in front of a judge. And I share with children all the time, sitting in front of a judge is a lot different than sitting in front of a principal. Because in many instances, the judge is going to look at the infraction and they're going to look at what the book says And that's the time you're going to get. And it won't matter how much crying is being done, how much is pleading is being done, how sorry the judge may or may not feel for your parents. The bottom line is you broke the law, and now you must do the time for the crime. So we're trying to head some stuff off ahead of time, and that's what the book was saying, that what we habitually do will impact our destiny. That's our future. So the habits that we set up as youth, if some of the bad habits are not corrected or are not broken, they are going to carry over into adulthood. And see, the thing about habits, especially when you're trying to break bad habits, it really is about discipline. I know within my own house, I struggle with a child who refuses to clean her room, who refuses to make up her bed, no matter how many times she's been asked. Will walk out the house, bed still looking as if she was still in it. Covers looking like a fight was held in the bed. And I try to get her to understand it's about the discipline. It's about the habit of creating a work ethic. It's about a habit of creating a mindset. It's about a habit of doing whatever you do to the best of your ability with excellence, and not just leaving everything any old kind of way. Because that's what I deal with children turning in schoolwork any old kind of way. I remember when I was a child, my sister and I could not get anything on our homework paper. That's why we couldn't do homework on the kitchen table, because grease may get on it. A stain may get on the paper. And should that have happened, my mother and father would not allow us to turn that in. We'd ask the teacher for another one and have to complete it on a clean homework sheet. If the speck or the spot or the oil or whatever it is occurred in our notebook on notebook paper, we would have to boil it up, throw it in, or ball it up, shall I say, throw it in the garbage and start all over again, because we wanted to turn in a document that looked like care was taken for it. So when we start talking about habits, even again, I'm going to go back to my childhood. When my sister and I were tiny, when we were tots, my mother had what they call knickknacks or artifacts all over the house, on coffee tables and on shelves. And my sister and I, we were taught at a very young age, we're talking at baby stage, of not to touch items that were on shelves or coffee tables. How many times have you had children come to your house and they're running all over the place, picking up everything that you have on display, whether it be glass, plastic, or any other material that could be broken, and the parent is just sitting there watching their child run all over the place? See, again, that's a part of habit. We instill habits in children when they are young with the hope that the good habits will remain with them as they become adults. It's about discipline. I say again, what I tell the child, it's in my own house in terms of cleaning the room. Cleaning the room is part of the issue, but more importantly is the discipline that comes with making up your bed in the morning before you go to school. Because that now translates into a work ethic that when you get on your job, there are certain things you're going to have to do. And if we looked at the definition of habit, it was like doing something almost by rote, that you do it so much it's involuntary. And that's where we're trying to get good habits to go, because there are good habits and there are bad habits. The trick is, because no one is perfect, the trick is to move away from more of the bad habits and move into more good habits. So certainly decisions that we make as children, and I say this is almost like a broken record when I talk about habits, decisions that we make at 10, 11, and 12 can come back to haunt you at 50. Decisions that you make at 18 can come back to haunt you at 65. Decisions that are made at 20 can come back to haunt you at 70. And a lot of that decision and habit kind of goes together, because in order for something to become a habit, you have to have made a decision. You decide, this is what I'm going to do. And then you continuously decide, This is what I'm going to do over and over again. So if you make the decision, I'm not going to make that bed, I don't care how much I've been told, you made a decision, I'm not going to make that bed, which eventually becomes a habit. And now every morning you're walking out of the house with a room that looks like who did it and ran. And I'm just using that as an example because we can translate that into any habit. One of the examples they give in the Merriam-Webster definition is an addiction to drugs, a drug habit. Once again, a decision had to be made to try a drug. There's a first time for everything. And then a decision was made again. I want to do that again. I want to do that again. And it becomes a habit, and now it's involuntary, and now for the most part you can't help it. There's a decision that impacts the future. Go back to the example I gave with the child who now has gotten into the habit of breaking school rules. And now he or she has graduated and they're out in life. They're on someone's job. I'm going to use another example from the school. Every day at 8:20, the doors close. If you're not there by 8:20, you're considered tardy. Again, what we're trying to teach the children is you're going to be on someone's job one day that's required certain hours. I know in the school system that I work, teachers have to be in the building by 8:15. They have to have clocked in by 8:15 with first student contact at 8:20. If a teacher clocks in at 8:16, 4 times, the 5th time, he or she loses money, even though it's a minute. So we're trying to help the children understand and develop habits that it's not a matter of I get there when I want. I show up whenever I feel like. I can either do what the supervisor says or not, and then not expect any consequences. What we habitually do impacts our worldly destiny. Most people who are successful have positive and good habits. They're not perfect. And most people who are struggling, if you were to look and analyze and observe, there's some habits in there that need to change. I put it in the description of this. If you've never thought about how your habits impact you, take a listen to this particular episode, and then after you're done listening, reflect. And if upon your reflection, you see that some things need to change, feel free to make the necessary corrections. Feel free to change habits that may be slowing you down or weighing you down. I have to do the same thing for myself because, again, not perfection. I have some bad habits as well. But again, the trick is to put in more positive and habits that are going to serve you well rather than habits that are going to tear you down. What we habitually do impacts our worldly destiny. Give it some thought, reflect, make whatever necessary changes you need to make, because it does impact. Decisions and habits impact our outcomes. Again, I encourage you to subscribe to the Mark Medley Show on whatever platform is. It's on so many platforms now. You have your choice. Also, please go to my website. It's a brand new website built from the ground or the floor up. And I'm very happy with it. It's my name, very simple. markamedley.com. 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 Go to the site. I'm trying to build my visitor numbers up. But I think if you go there and visit all the pages, don't just go to the first page, visit all the pages as a part of the website and see maybe what I can do for you. There's a listings of how may I serve you, a listing of services that I can help you with. Feel free to contact me by my email in the contact area. Also, you can hear me live on Saturday mornings on FM radio in northern New Jersey, WP 88.7 FM, and we web stream that around the world. Anywhere you have internet connectivity and a device, you can hear the show on gobrave.org. That's GOBRAVE.org. Again, check out my site, markamedley.com. Listen to me live on Saturday mornings from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on gobrave.org. And if you're in northern New Jersey, it's 88.7 FM radio. And please do follow or subscribe on any of the podcast platforms. The name of the show is The Mark Medley Show.